Yay Networks.
I'm Molly Kimball. Welcome to Fueled, a wellness and nutrition podcast. I'm a registered dietitian and nutrition journalist with a passion to help people live their strongest, healthiest life possible. In my weekly TV segments and columns, there's a limited amount of time and space to cover everything, but there's so much more to share. This podcast is my opportunity to dive deeper into the topics you want to know about. This week's episode covers how to make the most of social media in terms of nutrition and basically our whole body wellness. I am joined by Maria Sylvester Terry, our Eat Fit NOLA registered dietitian, and she's also our social media strategy manager for our entire Eat Fit initiative across the state. Maria and I will cover the positives and the pitfalls of social media when it comes to our mind, body, and our spirit. We'll explore the general culture of wanting to change ourselves and really what's behind this. Maria will share her insight and her strategies for filtering your feed, which is a necessary step for that continued sense of peace and really self-protection and self-preservation on social media. We uncover the red flags of non-experts claiming expertise, including what they actually look like and sound like on social and why they can be so toxic, plus how to find the right fit for the nutrition and wellness experts for you specifically, both virtually on social and of course in real life. So first, a bit about Maria. Maria is a registered dietitian here in New Orleans and our Eat Fit NOLA RD, part of our Ochsner Eat Fit initiative that you have heard me talk about. It spans 6 regions across the state. Maria is also our social strategy manager for Eat Fit, overseeing the voice, the content, and the approach of our Eat Fit social media accounts across the state. Originally from Philadelphia, Maria moved here last year with her husband and her 2 dogs for her dietetic internship, and now NOLA is her home. Her background is in academia, though. After what she refers to as a turbulent and pressure cooker experience as an English teacher and school admin, Maria ventured into a completely different field, nutrition, where she can continue to educate with creativity and, as she says, a lot more energy. As you'll hear, Maria is passionate about busting diet myths and helping others to break down their own connections to that pervasive diet culture in order to better connect with our own bodies. Maria is also a registered yoga teacher, an avid CrossFitter, and a fond social media content creator for her own incredible nutrition Instagram account, Vitamin Ree. So welcome, Maria. I am so excited for you to be here. I know we've talked about this for a while. I'm so happy we're finally doing it.
I am so excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
And this is a little bit different. We talk social media all the time with our normal work, our normal roles with Eat Fit. Social media is just intertwined with, it is another form of communication. We talk, we email, we call people, and then there's social. It's everything. It's all encompassing. So where do we start with it?
So I actually just remembered a great conversation I had with a friend today. And she said, it's so interesting that social media feels like a fake world where it's not real. You can't really hold it. And yet the after effects of social media are real and we feel them. So everything that we imagine with social media, like, oh, it doesn't matter. You can just delete it. It doesn't count. It's not real. It's just a highlight reel. You'll hear that a lot about Instagram. And yet it really affects us, and it plays a huge part in how we see ourselves, how we see others, of course, and then how we see the world in general.
And the amount of brain space that it takes up, what we're seeing on it, what we're consuming in social media, but then also what we're thinking about, if someone is active themselves, what they're thinking about, how they're going to post something, how they're going to phrase it, how they're going to position it on social. There's an immense amount of brain space for a lot of us that is spent in this world that you said that seems very false, like this whole alternative reality.
Absolutely. And living rent free. And, so many of us don't get anything out of social media other than that immediate fix or that high of, oh, like everybody liked it. Everybody's responding. But what do we really get out of it? It kind of follows you. It lives in your brain. It takes up space and it's there oftentimes rent free. So I think unloading that, finding those boundaries with social media are incredibly important.
You spend a lot of time in your social accounts talking about wellness. educating about wellness, nutrition specifically, but wellness, whole body, our mind, our body, physical, but also kind of given a little bit of a guidance to people of how to protect themselves, how to insulate themselves from and filter through social. And a lot of people are, I think, following you. They'll follow my accounts. They'll follow our Eat Fit accounts in a quest for, they're seeking that wellness. They want to be better versions of themselves. And we all want to be better versions of ourselves. And, but there's this general culture of striving to constantly improve and constantly change ourselves. And I think a lot of what we see for the good and the not so good on social is kind of playing on that culture of change that's in there.
Yes, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to change yourself. There are so many amazing things that you can learn through social media, through my account, through yours, through Eat Fit, that could have a transformational effect on your day, on the hour, and your whole life. And that is so remarkable. And I love that transformation. I love that spread of information so quickly. Like in an instant, things can change. A mindset shift. I love that. And I also really dislike how sometimes you make a change that is not going to help you at all. That, you said insulate. I think in a lot of ways, I also want people to break down and to tear apart these ideas that are being sent to them, shared with them in their Explore tab, all up in their brains, that are saying, you need to change yourself. Here's how, here's why, here's the life that you're going to have after you do that. And we just so crave that improvement.
And it's often, I would think, things that we weren't even thinking about. We weren't even thinking that we needed to make this change, improve this one element of our bodies or our minds or our habits. We were just like rolling along just fine. Then we stumble across this and all of a sudden we question, well, wait, is this good? Am I okay with what I'm doing? And then we feel like there's a need for change. And sometimes, yeah, there really may be. And then sometimes there's a lot of misinformation guiding us really in a very poor way and sometimes self-serving way for the parties on social who are doing it.
Absolutely. There's I think it's a very westernized way of thinking, whereas you think about countries that have grown out of poverty, their society has slowly transitioned into more of a technological age, and they might look at our culture and say, y'all are worried about carbohydrates? That was keeping our civilization, our people alive for centuries, and y'all are just eating meat, period? That's it? And so it's so easy for us to, like you said, question something that, it's like a problem was invented for us to now solve. And I think that is wellness culture, that's fitness culture, that's diet culture, of presenting issues you didn't know you have. And of course, Molly, finding a very sometimes lucrative solution or a lucrative expert that you can work with to solve that problem you didn't know you had.
So a lot of I think sometimes people are using social for keeping up with friends truly and keeping up with family and seeing, what's happening in their worlds. And people who are not immediately in our space, they may be, physically far away or for whatever reasons, we don't get that opportunity to see them. Social media can be a very beautiful way to stay connected and to stay in the know and what's going on in their lives. So there is a huge amount of social media that is used for nothing related to health and wellness. But what we'll be focusing on a lot in this podcast, or primarily in this podcast, is the element of, that the health and wellness, and that when we're scrolling through it, the accounts we're choosing to follow, how do we make the most of this so that we're getting the maximum benefit from social, and then really trying to minimize what might be feeding into that negativity. So that general culture of wanting to change ourselves, there's nothing wrong with that. I think striving for self-improvement is always fantastic. One thing I do really want to emphasize is striving to change ourselves or improve ourselves in a very gentle and loving way. There's some things that we are just hardwired to be a certain way. And when we keep berating ourselves that we want to change this, or we keep faulting ourselves or feeling as if we failed because we aren't changing these certain things that we think we, quote, should, that can be really detrimental. It can be really dangerous for us. And so I think being really careful about when we decide that we want to change or improve, we have to be really gentle with that.
And change and improve looks different for everyone. So maybe while I may have wanted to eat a certain way or move a certain way, at some point in my life, that was improvement. maybe now it could be seen as letting myself go by not focusing on those things, but it's actually really good for my mental health to not be so wrapped up in the same behaviors or thought processes as before. So also important to note is while you're on this pursuit to maybe find something that improves your life, it's also not a bad thing to start letting go of some practices that maybe you're focusing so much on trying to change yourself that what you really could be doing is working on accepting something or being neutral about it. And that ultimately is not letting yourself go. That's letting yourself be. And a lot of us really need to just let ourselves be.
And finding that peace with that, accepting it. Yeah. I think that comes with years. It comes with time. I think things that might seem really impossible at one point in our lives, 5 years, 10 years later, it's like, wow, I feel like I finally got a hold of that. And that's like I would encourage everyone that if you kind of think of certain things that you used to really beat yourself up and you're more at peace with this, give yourself credit for that, because you probably haven't given yourself enough credit for becoming peaceful with these things that used to be your demons. And that's a really, really huge step. So I think we don't give ourselves that credit, those accolades enough. So when we talk about being careful, using caution in the world of social media, we'll talk about kind of what are the things to look out for. How do we insulate ourselves? How do we filter when it comes to social media? And then we'll talk about kind of some specific examples of this. And then we'll talk about more of what to do, how to benefit from it, and kind of how to find a relationship with social media that truly can nurture your whole body wellness. So starting with the areas to use caution, walk us through this.
Sure. So looking at people that you're getting information from, looking at the people that you are seeing as the expert.
Who you're following.
Absolutely.
And we'll say this, who you're choosing to follow, or at some point in time you chose to follow them, so they're still showing up in your feed.
Yes. And it's always okay to do a little clean out, like spring and fall and winter and summer Instagram clean out is helpful. I think it comes down to, how are you filling in this feed? Now, of course, social media will present to you, do you want to follow Nicki Minaj? Do you want to follow whoever? And you have the option to say yes or no. However, your Explore tab will populate itself on Instagram with anyone that is seemingly doing a great job of engagement. Who does great with engaging? Viral influencers, viral fitspos, people that are sharing information constantly. And Molly, we know that people who share information constantly are not always the experts. So it's so easy to just assume, well, these people are here and they're right in my face and I can start listening to them and getting information from them. So you'll find that some of these people that are claiming expertise may not be experts. And while they might have the best of intentions, that can lead us down a rabbit hole of taking information, taking advice that is not nuanced enough, not nuanced at all for our health, our well-being, even geographical, economical. And that puts us in a position to be really maybe not helping ourselves in the way we thought we would.
And a lot of these non-experts who are claiming expertise, as you said, they're coming at it with the truest and the best intentions. They may have had some level of success and wellness in their own world. They may have had something that they feel has been super successful and just life-changing for them, and they just can't hold it in. They want to share it with everybody. And a lot of times I think it truly does start in a very pure way and truly I want to help others. And for some, it just stays that way. And then for others, they'll try to monetize it or they'll try to build it into more. But either way, it's non-experts giving advice on things that they're only basing it on their personal experience. And they don't really have the full background to give you that full scope that's going to apply to you specifically.
Right. Like you can be very passionate about essential oils. You can be very passionate about fitness and nutrition and own that passion, own that enthusiasm, and know your lane, know your scope, and still be cautious. I don't think people are being cautious because, like you said, they've had some sort of success. And what happens is your family member, your friend, someone from high school is like,
oh my gosh,
wow, oh my God, you look so good. How did you do that? And then eventually it creates this, I think it's a beast, where it's like, so many of you have asked me about my skincare routine. It just sort of happens so fast. And we don't really know if anyone's asking, but we do know that this person is now felt like they are an authority enough that people are asking, people need them. And who doesn't want to feel needed? Right. So and now you have a platform, and the platform is free. There's no investment other than the time that you put in. And potentially there's money that you're going to get out of this. Why not? So yes, it starts with the best of intentions. And then you see it really turns into a caption that ends with, click the link in my bio for more information for working one-on-one with me on improving your life with X, Y, or Z wellness tip. So it becomes a beast pretty quickly. And I think non-experts do this not just for their own self-validation, but because they want purpose. There are a lot of people like myself who changed careers, didn't really know what they were going to do with their lives after that. Maybe they were furloughed, they've been laid off, they had kids, they don't want to go back to work maybe, they need something more flexible. Entrepreneurship is an excellent and amazing opportunity, especially here in our country. There's just lots of opportunities. And yet they might not be opportunities that lead other people to the wellness changes you think you're going to take them through, right?
So the monetization can be from click the link in my bio, learn how to work with me, become a client. And whether it's a monthly plan or something that something that they're asking their followers to pay for, it can also be sponsored posts from products and companies. And tell us about the rules around that, because if you're being paid by a company to talk about them on social media, there's rules around it, but people don't follow the rules.
Right, because the rule would make it very clear that you're being paid and that you have an agreement with a company, and that would make you feel like billboard. But that's exactly what it is. And you have to name it. When you are driving down a highway, you are not surprised by a billboard. You can see it. It is huge. It is in your face. And what happens on social media is people tend to hide that sort of billboard, which is #ad. It is legal. You are expected when you're in contract with a company, even if, Molly, this part is really tough for dietitians, even if it's just free food, even if it's just a company sent you some snacks in the mail, technically, if you agreed to that exchange, that is a #ad. X, Y, or Z company has worked with me or shared this with me, and I'm here to share it with you. You can say anything you want about that product. It doesn't have to be good. It can be neutral. It can be bad. And yet it's still promotion. So people tend to not do #ad in the beginning. They'll put it at the end, or they'll put #sponsored at the end, or #gifted. And I love when people are honest, but you don't always see it in stories. You might see it in the post, but you might not see it in the story. And a lot of people watch stories.
And a lot of people don't put it in the post or not following the rules.
Right. A lot of people just straight up don't follow it, or they're a little sneaky about it. And at that point, I'd rather you just not even put the hashtag if you're not going to put it where people can see it, because that's deceitful. My big question mark is, why are we so afraid of promoting a company?
Well, on this podcast, the production of this podcast is sponsored, and we have sponsors each episode that I'm grateful for, because I record this podcast. We're sitting here in my home doing this podcast, but it's the production company, Yay Networks, who is really pulling it all together. They're making the edits, they're uploading it, they're adding like all the intro and close. They're doing all this. And those ads make it possible for me to work with them. But instead of just, layering it in to kind of hide it, I always want to stop with the podcast and say, hey, I want to take a minute to talk about our sponsor, because I want to be very forthcoming to our listeners. I also would never have a sponsor that I don't believe in. And that's another big thing. Side note for our listeners,
yes, I think that's great.
Which I've actually never shared that part on this podcast, but it's true, And so there may be some that aren't a service that I would normally seek out, but when I learn about it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that works. But if there was something that I just didn't fundamentally agree with, I'm not, we don't have to say yes to that. So anyway, just for our listeners, if you hear these ads and you wonder why, there you go. And we're very forthcoming, but on social media, you're not always going to see that. So what do some of these like non-experts look like?
So there's a lot of different kinds of experts, and I've kind of characterized them. I think the first one I go to is the new fit girl. The new fit girl is new to fitness, and she's so excited about it that she's going to share her fitness, her workouts from home. She's going to share them with you on Instagram, on Facebook. And why not? Because it's changed her life. But friends, even though she's sharing her workouts, even though she's made these beautiful graphics, she herself is still not the expert on fitness, on safety, on how to teach modifications that might be really important for preventing injury at home. She's not your fit pro. She's her own fit pro. And while we love that for her,
good for her.
yeah,
Right.
Claps for her. The new fit girl is inspired. She's passionate, but she's not educated in that field.
She's not the one to guide us. I think we can extrapolate the new fit girl to also the same type of caricature, as you say, someone who maybe was recently diagnosed with a food sensitivity, and changing or eliminating certain things from their diet has been a game changer. And that's, this has been so impactful for them personally. They want to share it with all, or whatever that latest thing is that they feel like has been life-changing. And oh my gosh, everybody needs to know about this. Okay. So the new fit girl.
There's a cheerleader too. And that's very similar to this other person you just named, where they did something and it changed their life forever. They quit their job. They got into life coaching or health coaching. They tell you everything about their story from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to bed. You see their beautiful house, their beautiful family, their beautiful life, everything. They're just cheering you on to live that similar life. Live your boss babe life, your fempreneur life, boss babe empire. That's a fun one. And you might just see a fun, go kick some butt this Monday, babe, or let's get after this weekend. And it's all fun. It's all positive, but somehow they've monetized their own positivity and they are a positivity mindset coach or whatever it is that they are. There's no real credential for that. I don't really know if you can encapsulate that. There is a life coaching credential and health coaching, of course. But just to say that you had this massive transformation in your life and now you're cheering others on, there are people that are paid cheerleaders. Some of us need a cheerleader, but your life will not look like theirs just because you are applying to work with them.
It can also be a spiral where we start to compare ourselves to these, and wow, they're so cheerful. They're so positive. Their home looks like this or their hair looks like this and we don't, and it can be a really, the comparison can be dangerous there.
Yes. Good vibes only. That's
right. Right.
Look for that hashtag.
And you happen to see that when you might be feeling a little crabby, and then we start to question ourselves. Yeah.
Right. There's also your classic fitness trainer bro. That's sort of been the non-expert in the nutrition field and, right in your home gym. Maybe you go to a larger gym that's affordable or even a smaller boutique gym. You are very likely to see, a personal trainer, someone who's real built. They're strong. They got, obvious body composition that maybe other people aspire to have. And they're using that clout as a trainer, as someone who knows more than you. And they're saying, you know what, I can help you. I can help you expedite this weight loss program.
Or they may not be a trainer.
Or they may not be a trainer.
Yeah, they're just a guy wandering. Yeah.
They could just be the bro, not even the fitness trainer bro. And that's not to say that there are other people that aren't, there's also other people that can claim to be this sort of fitness expert. But my main concern here, Molly, is the fitness trainer bro person who talks a lot about nutrition, which that is like page 2 in the manual for personal trainers, is to stay in your lane and to not talk about nutrition. That's not your area of expertise. In a lot of states, it's illegal. And yet there are people
in Louisiana, it's illegal.
Yes. In a lot of gyms and places, you can get a meal plan from a trainer.
Drives me crazy.
You can get a supplement or something from a trainer. And guess what? They might be getting a kickback from that supplement anyway. So, while yes, someone might have the body that looks like they're the expert, it does not mean that they're the expert. It might mean they have genetics that you missed out on. And that's okay. But let's not lean so heavily on the way people look and using that as a business card. Your body is not a business card. We also have our multi-level marketing friends. We can bring them up too. Yes.
Yes.
Those are people.
Your friends. Yes.
Frenemies. Those are people that I'm very kind to, but I also acknowledge that they may have come upon hard times. I myself bought multi-level marketing products through Beachbody or Young Living, and it was usually in a time of my life where I needed that sort of something extra. I needed to feel like, I need that extra.
That you're being proactive.
Yeah, maybe I do need a replacement to my breakfast because I'm a busy teacher and I don't make a lot of money, but I want to spend it wisely. And I am doing marathon training. And oh my God, so nice of this person that I'm a friend of to notice that I'm on this journey. and they slide into the DMs with a "Hey girl," and the rest is history. So being cautious about these people, while they might have the best intentions, this is usually a side hustle. It is not typically their main game. And if it is, they're making pretty good money, and they've probably recruited hundreds of people to join them. The thing about multi-level marketing is that the idea is that it's recruitment, it's sales. And so you have an upline who brings you on. And then once you're in, you can either stay as a subscriber, or you can also bring other people on. And that helps you pay for your products and also helps you maybe make a little money on the side. You are not a coach. I'll say it over and over again. You are not a coach. You are not trained to be a coach, but you are a salesperson, and you can own that. But I think they're very deceitful companies. Some will say that they are pyramid schemes. I say they are legal pyramid schemes by selling memberships. That's the key thing there. Keeping an eye out for that sort of evasive language. They don't talk about the product, but they say they have this great lifestyle they're selling. They have a program that you can't miss out on. Do you want to improve your mental health, your physical health, your financial health? Do you want to achieve financial freedom?
And asking you to ask friends to join.
Yes. And typically your closest friends and family, people that you can maybe use the existing trust you have to manipulate them into joining you. And it is simply, it's devastating to me knowing that when it all comes crumbling down, because it typically does, you eventually realize this is not sustainable for me. How many people have you hurt in the process by bringing them onto this sort of deceitful, manipulative thing? So you'll see them everywhere. Some of us are aware of it. People in my age group, they know the "Hey girl" DM means trouble, but some don't. And it's important to keep your eyes out for people that just seem like they know how to solve all your problems.
And it can be nutrition, wellness, it can be skincare, it can be the full scope. Yes.
Or the trifecta, which is it's all of those things.
Right.
Be cautious of those products. And there might be people that actually have a credential. They might actually be a doctor, an MD, a DO. They might be a physician's assistant, or they have a PhD. And so I think there's also this sort of doctor category. While we would love to get medical advice from a medical professional with the credential doctor, there are also people that have PhDs in an unrelated
completely
field.
Unrelated.
It could be architecture, but now they are the doctor, the wellness doctor, or they're saying, "I'm Dr. Cynthia, blah, blah, blah." They have a PhD. They can technically be called a doctor, but their niche, their target audience has nothing to do with it. So they're simply using that credential for clout. And they'll probably never say it, but we know it.
So when you see someone who's calling themselves a doctor, look to see a doctor in what type of doctor. If you don't see it, that's your number one red flag. Ask. It's okay to ask. If you see that it's an MD, ask what type of specialty. If it's a PhD, what they get their doctorate in? Ask these questions, because there's Dr. So-and-so who has the Instagram account with all types of wellness information that is completely out of their scope. It is completely unrelated credential. There's Dr. So-and-so who's hosting the podcast. They're on the YouTube channel. They're on all these things. So keeping a lookout for, Dr. So-and-so, but doctor in what? And then the last one.
The last one is the fabricated credential, the one that you can't really find any search results in Google when you look it up. You're kind of like, what is a intuitive eating weight loss food coach? What is a label reading coach? What is a mindset yogi master course? Right? What are these things? It is very easy to sell a product that has a name, friends. And so when you put a name on it, you can put a label on it and package it real nicely. It's going to sell better than saying, "I'm a registered dietitian, and every time you ask me a question, I'm going to say it depends." Right. That sucks. But that's me being in the gray area, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the fabricated credential is baseless. It's made up, and it oftentimes sounds pretty sexy. It's like, "Ooh, you're an expert in this very niche field, this very niche problem." Well, isn't that convenient that they have no credential except the one they gave themselves to help solve a problem that you suddenly think that you have?
Right.
So someone with a fabricated credential kind of gave themselves a title, something that they can easily package into a coaching plan, into a master course. They are uniquely solving a problem you didn't know you have. And then you realize, but they're the expert in that problem. Think really critically about that. If you have a hard time chewing your food slowly, I guarantee you there's a slow eating coach out there. There's somebody out there marketing themselves that way, but that's not a real credential. Why do people give themselves these credentials? This is crucial. They give themselves these credentials because they themselves have improved this element of their lives. And so they feel, well, if I can do it, so can you. And I'm in the
so should you.
And so should you, because my friend, I am in the unique position to teach you how I did it. But what works for that person works for that person. It doesn't necessarily mean that their plan and the way they did it, it's going to fit your life. It doesn't necessarily mean it's even going to fit your physiology. Your mental health, your physical health might be in jeopardy because this person is an expert in themselves. They're not an expert in whatever it is that they're claiming to be. Their anecdote is so important to their life, and I'm not here to discount that. But their anecdote is not supposed to be serving as their only form of expertise.
I'd like to take a minute to talk about a sponsor for this week's podcast, Sweaty Betty. If you haven't tried their apparel, you've got to give it a shot. I recently got my first pair of Sweaty Betty power leggings, and I am loving them. No other athletic brand can compete with the Sweaty Betty power leggings, squat-tested compression fabric, and the expertly placed seams that physically shape and lift your core and your glutes. They are quick drying with a perfectly placed side pocket. You can take their quiz at sweatybetty.com to find your best style and choose from a huge selection of strategically cut patterns. I am loving Sweaty Betties, and you'll love them too. They are buttery soft with a bunch of different really cute patterns. Now through November 1st, get 20% off your entire purchase when you visit sweatybetty.com/fueled and enter promo code FUELED at checkout. This is the best offer Sweaty Betty has available anywhere, because no matter how hard we're training, Sweaty Betty makes it effortless to look and feel amazing before, during, and after your workout. So get 20% off your entire purchase at sweatybetty.com/fueled. That's only until November 1st, and it's spelled SWEATYBETTY.com/fueled, and enter promo code FUELED at checkout. So these are our essentially 6 caricatures of what some of these non-experts will look like on social. So keep an eye out for them. The common thread with all of these is they are the expert, and they'll position themselves as the expert.
It's the expert, capital T, capital E. And the only way for them to really continue to gain clout is to, of course, bash or belittle those who have worked really hard to become or to earn that credential. And I'm not saying all trainers that are certified and all dietitians that are registered are the best, are the most helpful. But if your main reason for why people should work with you is because certain dietitians make food recommendations you don't like, or you think that doctors are paid off by the USDA or pharmaceutical companies, y'all, like, we got to reel that back in and think, if that's all they're saying and we're so quick to believe it, well, we clearly don't trust our healthcare system. But if that's all they have to say and they are always detracting away from what they know, instead of, bringing our attention to like how they can help us, they're only ever saying these people don't know. That's a big red flag.
And they tend to operate in the extremes, and they're very black and white. There's this way, and this is the right way. And it's very clear cut, very specific, and there's not a lot of gray area. But you love the gray area.
Yeah, that's my space. That's my happy space.
It's my favorite color.
Yeah. I think more and more it's becoming my favorite color, because there are many shades that you can enjoy. Charcoal lately is a favorite shade of gray for me. Yeah, the extremes is such a good point, Molly. The idea of operating in the black and white. We love it. Our brains love rules, love consistency, love a checklist of good foods, bad foods, good places to walk, bad places to walk, good ways to do a lunge, bad ways to do a lunge.
And this is all stuff that is getting fueled and fed as we scroll through that social feed.
Yes. I mean, you'll see side by sides of do this, don't do that, or eat this, not that, all the time. And I also think that social media algorithms love side by sides. I think because of before and after photos mostly, but I think it also feeds the engagement. It feeds the algorithm. I don't know if that's true, but I feel it. I sense it. And I also notice people's posts do better when they post side by sides. And my thought is on that, well, You're operating in the black and white. You give people an immediate takeaway, or how many calories do you need to, if you eat a donut, how many forms of exercise is that for how many minutes? People love those rules. But the truth of the matter is, a real expert is going to tug you into that gray area and say, they're not even going to say anything, Molly. They're going to ask. They're going to ask lots of questions about your life. They're going to make you the front and center character. It's not going to be about their program. Here's what I offer. Here's what I do. It's going to be about, well, how can I help you live your best life? And so who wouldn't want to be in the gray area now that I say it that way, right? Sure, the gray area is full of lots of questions. The way I eat is going to look different from Molly. And yet, oh, we're both dietitians. We both work in the same organization. Aren't you? What? We're allowed to be different. We're still allowed to live a comfortable, happy life that is healthy by our own standards. I think it's very important for us to remember that you deserve someone who is an expert that isn't just earning a side hustle. Your nutrition or your health or your wellness or fitness should be on the forefront of this expert's mind, and not how they can continue to keep you as a client or how they can get you to follow their cookie cutter plan.
I like that you say they ask a lot of questions about you. I think that is tremendous. And when I think about our dietitians at Ochsner Fitness Center, our nutrition program, the first session is 90 minutes, and it's really tough to keep it into 90 minutes because we're learning so much about that person sitting in front of us for the first time. There's so much for us to ask them to wrap our head around who this whole person is. What's their support system? What's happening back at home? What's happening at work? What are these voices in their head? What are the things they think they're doing well? What's their self-sabotage triggers? There's so much for us to learn, and it is all about them. And the focus is 100% them. So I think that's a really right there, that's a number one filter for us to start to look at. When we're scrolling through social, is it about them? Is it them positioning themselves as the experts? Is it maybe negative self-talk about other experts, or just not even bringing in others? Or is it getting you to think more about yourself, your habits, and kind of that introspection? That's huge.
Yes.
And a lot of times that's not going to happen on social. Very rarely are you really going to be touched by that on social. So, I think a lot of experts, well, you do a really great job, I think, actually, Maria, on your Insta stories. Maria has what she'll call ask away, and it'll be usually Monday, maybe Tuesday, but it's where she's truly taking your questions, and you don't give just like a quick flip answer. She will give you a very thorough answer and really then put more questions back to you to kind of think through and marinate on. And when someone asks a question that they think is going to be a quick black or white question, Maria is going to answer it, and she's going to open up other areas of that maybe we didn't even think of, and then position more for us to think about even a little deeper on it. So that can happen. It's usually not going to be in a normal grid post or a normal static post. It's going to be more in the different videos or something like this podcast, so when it's media or social media, where you can get a little bit more time for the people who are, either listening or watching us. So I think a lot of times there's good intentions with all of the caricatures that you talked about, but it can easily be taken out of context. A lot of times when there's that black and white rules heavy living, the pendulum swings so far. We can only stay in that extreme point for so long. It's just not sustainable. So who is that expert, and what are their credentials that can help guide us into that gray area safely, sustainably? And it's not going to be the same gray area. It's going to evolve as we grow and evolve. And so having someone who can kind of help guide and navigate that with us.
Sure. And I think identifying that whatever that expert is in your life probably is going to answer some of those questions you ask them with, it depends. That's always a great tool I offer to people is it depends. It's going to depend on you.
So we've talked a lot about how to spot the non-experts. Some may say imposters. And I think imposters can sound like a really strong word, but it's sort of what it is. But I think a lot of times we have our own imposter syndrome. I know a lot of health professionals have that. We fall victim to, well, do I feel qualified enough? Do I have enough experience in that? I remember when I first started as a dietitian way back when, 21 years ago, I remember thinking, I had gone through all this schooling. I'd gone through my internship. I'd, taken the RD exam. I'm now a credentialed, licensed, registered dietitian. and I started the nutrition program at the fitness center, and there was no clients. There was no nutrition program. It was at least the first 2 months. If it was not the whole first year, I thought, I can't believe these people are paying to come sit down and talk to me. Like, do I really know? And the answer was a lot of times I didn't, but I would let them know that. I would research it. I would research it really thoroughly. And then I would get back with them and I would help guide them because I didn't know everything. There's no way you can know it right when you're that green, that young. But I would not pretend. I didn't fake it, but I did have that self-doubt. And I thought, am I really in this position? Because there wasn't someone that was above me that I could turn to and say, hey, what about this? It was me. And so I thought, oh my gosh. But owning that, admitting it, acknowledging it, that earned the trust of the people I was working with. So, but I think as health professionals, a lot of us feel that we don't have what it takes and we're comparing ourselves to others and we have that self-doubt. So I think that imposter syndrome for ourselves, we have to be careful of. I think everybody experiences it.
Sure. Even teachers, speaking of my old life, teachers, musicians, chefs, I bet, there's gotta be a sense of imposter syndrome in every single one of us. And how couldn't there be? We operate in a society that is endlessly offering us, like you said, more problems that we didn't know we had and solutions to help, basically pay them away. And that's not to say that imposter syndrome is always solved with a product or coaching or client-based work, but I think it's everywhere. And every single one of us just falls victim to that very human thing of feeling like you're not good enough.
I think our listeners, even if you say, well, okay, I'm listening to this podcast, y'all are the dietitians, I'm not, you may be an attorney listening to this. And so you may think, but I don't know that much about health or wellness. So I am following these other people to learn from them. You probably know a lot more about it than what you're giving yourself credit for, or you have a gut feeling of what works for your body, for your lifestyle. You have that you kind of had that intuition of, what do you respond well to? What leaves you feeling peaceful? What leaves you sleeping well versus having that restless night sleep? Like we kind of know. Mm-hmm. So I think, but a lot of times we have that self-doubt that we really do know what's best for ourselves and we want others to tell us. So I think that kind of falls into that imposter syndrome of, yeah, we still want to turn to the experts to guide us when we feel like we can benefit from it, but really trusting our instincts, trusting our guts that we can start to feel what these things are that are best for us.
Yeah, lived experience. Trust your lived experience. I'm a breakfast person and I've been one since I was a kid. I'm not a candidate for a diet that would require me to fast. I know that my lifestyle doesn't support it. But if I didn't know and trust that lived experience, Molly, I probably would fall victim to the idea that, well, that's the next best thing. That's what I should be doing. Maybe I do have issues that are related to me eating at 6 a.m. And for some people, those types of lifestyle changes do help them. But having the awareness of what works for you now is so important. And to trust it when you're in a doctor's office with a medical doctor who's maybe suggesting something that you're not sure if that aligns. And that's okay to stand up for your lived experience. You are an expert on one thing, and that's for sure yourself. And sometimes we really need to remember that we can own that.
Taking the time to really dial in, tune in, and pay attention. So many times we're looking for the next, the latest, next best great thing that we're not slowing down enough for that introspection. So what are some tangible steps for finding this kind of middle ground, finding this balance? We already talked some. I would say step one is embracing that gray area, using that, seeking that self-protection, that self-preservation. I think a big part is looking to see what behaviors we are doing that are black and white. And in some cases that might work for you, but if it isn't, allowing ourselves to go into a little bit of that gray area. So beyond that, what does this look like?
I think that when you can embrace the gray area, it's because you are recognizing that you need some grace in your life. You need some honoring of who you are and where you are in your life. And that comes from a place of self-protection. So how do you protect yourself? How do you preserve your energy? To me, that also looks like some tangible things like, what are your behaviors on social media? Are there certain people that you just love to hate, follow is what it's called? You need to unfollow those people. What if they're people that you know? What if it's that friend from high school who is now a coach in something and you don't want her to know that you unfollowed her? Maybe it would cause a rift. A great thing to do would be to mute them. So you can mute anyone on any platform, actually. any platform at all, which is fantastic. And it just allows you to maybe not see their stories.
So it doesn't pop up at the top of your feed.
Right. Because of course, what you engage with the most pops up the most. So if you happen to read posts by someone that you don't really like, you're going to keep seeing them. We just had a conversation about that, right? Like there's so much about, it might just be someone who's a total stranger. Why do I keep seeing these posts? Well, you keep reading them. You keep swiping on their slide stories or their slide posts. So muting them gives you the ability to, hey, I'm just going to let you be. Let you exist. We're still going to follow each other, give each other that social grace. And I'm not going to allow you to take up energy in my mind or in my body anymore.
Unfollowing is,
Yes.
I unfollow, especially because I do agree if it's someone you're close with or someone that you don't want to hurt their feelings by unfollowing them. And that might just be like your aunt who has started a multi-level marketing and you're like, oh my gosh, I just don't want it to keep popping up. You may love her, but right now you just don't want to have this be the main thing filling your social media space. But unfollowing people who make you feel less than optimal. And unfollowing is huge, especially if you don't know the person. You're not worried about hurting their feelings. They probably, they may already have a whole bunch of followers. It's not your responsibility to follow these people or to try not to hurt their feelings. There are so many people that when I'm looking at social media, if it brings anything out in me that is less than positive, if I'm a little bit in shock at something and not a good shock, a little like appalled, oh my gosh, or it's behaviors that aren't lifting others up, or it's behaviors that are maybe condescending to others, or it things that make me feel that I'm less than optimal, I immediately unfollow. If I've had, I wouldn't say immediately. Sometimes it might take 2, 3, several times, but if it's happening on that routine basis, I'm going to unfollow.
Yes.
I do it a lot.
I think that is so validating when you say, you know what, enough is enough. I am not meant to exist on this platform to feel bad about myself. I came to maybe stay connected with people that I love or laugh. Social media is
Oh my gosh,
funny.
yeah.
It's so funny. And so when you find yourself in that position, it might be time to unfollow, and it gives you that space, that insulation, like you said, where you can now, make this feed your own. Your Instagram or Facebook feed can look remarkably different if you want it to.
But you first have to clear out all this other stuff. So unfollowing and muting or blocking.
Yeah, so you can block. And I've been blocking a lot, Molly. I've been really enjoying that feature. And I think I didn't, I'll be very honest. I was not blocking people because I still wanted access to certain people that were bothering me. And it was sort of I'm just going to check in.
It's toxic.
Oh boy, is it toxic. And as a content creator, I found myself, you can copyright, if you will, like put your handle on your post. People will still mimic it. They'll still copy it. They might even repost it without your permission. And if you find that you're getting people following you or you're following them, that they are actually like, maybe, what's the word? I don't want to say violent, but they create some sort of cross of a line to you. They cross your boundaries and you are now irate. Your mood is now changed dramatically. You don't need to see content like that. And the best part about these platforms we have is that when you block certain people, I firmly believe that it then kind of detaches you from those other similar accounts that might also come up. I find that some people, they show up on your post, they might comment, they might like, and they're not really there for great purposes. You can tell when someone is being maybe a little bit snarky, or they're just sort of hate following you. Block. You need to cut access off from people entering your life, even in a digital way. And I have blocked family members. I have blocked friends. I've blocked maybe, older friends now, but I've blocked people that maybe really looked up to me and might have wanted to learn from me, but having them endlessly comment and question and enter my life and drain me of my energy, you know what? It wasn't enough to restrict their ability to comment, and it wasn't enough for me to mute them. I really needed to kind of exit this person from my life, from my mind, and you're free. You're mentally free from having to even think about these people. I also recommend, if you're someone who has, like you said, Molly, really worked through something and you're so proud of yourself for that change, like, wow, I actually kind of like myself now. That's pretty cool. You need to block the people that are telling you that you shouldn't or that you're not good enough. I had a conversation with you just this week of like, you know what? I can't. I need to block this person, and having someone to support you in that. So if, you don't have friends like that, I will tell you. You can always message me and I'll let you know. You can block someone.
Yeah, we'll tell you it's okay. And you have a lot of people, that really engage and really, they may have never met you. They have never, like they're in completely other areas of the country, but they follow you. They feel like they know you so well. You had a post recently that was about basically social graces when you message someone. And it was basically like, even when you message someone, especially when you're messaging them to ask advice, it's still nice to start with, hello, how are you doing? I hope your day's going well. Some sort of nicety instead of, how did you put it?
A pleasantry.
But you said, we're basically that we're humans, that you're asking our questions.
We're not search engines.
We're not search engines. Yeah. And so, no, that's not the type of person I'm sure that Maria is blocking. It's just, you kind of want to gently give a little bit of etiquette lessons there. But maybe you put a lot of time, a lot of thought into your content. And if you have certain people following you and then all of a sudden their accounts start to look really similar to yours, that doesn't feel very good. And so that combined with other things may be a reason that you, as Maria, might choose to block. So there can be a lot. So what this looks like on social to basically filter for our own self-preservation, protection, and to really just maximize our experience on social: unfollow, mute, and block. Use those strategically as they make sense for you. And instead, filling your space on your feed just like you want to in real life, filling it with positivity. Like you said, things that make you laugh, things that are connections with people in your life who aren't around. But blocking or unfollowing or muting helps to clear all that out so we can feel more positivity there.
You're right. I think those terms come across so negatively, but they are really a great tool to accessing a positive feed.
Right. So unfollow, block, mute, because they're going to make you happier.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guarantee you, anyone who's listening that takes 5 minutes to do a little clear out, you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
You're going to feel better.
So tangible steps, finding that gray area, looking to see who you're following on social and doing some housekeeping there. And then you talk about being body neutral. Body positivity gets a lot of conversation around it, but talk about body neutral versus body positivity.
Sure. So I think it's also important to name that body positivity is sort of blown out of context. So it's originally like it's a social justice movement, essentially, mostly for women or people who identify as women of color, Black women, Indigenous people whose bodies are not the norm. And so that whole amazing concept has been co-opted and really appropriated in a way that's not fair, not appropriate. And so what I find more helpful, so people think body positivity is body love, and body positivity with a capital B and a capital P is a movement, and learn about it. It's amazing, but respect it and revere it. However, if you are looking for body love, or I want to love myself, I want self-love, and that feels like such a reach, because I think for so many of us, it is, body neutrality and body acceptance is essentially looking at yourself and saying, I respect my body, I appreciate it, and sometimes I don't like the way it looks, and that's okay. There are going to be days that you like yourself, and days that you don't. But when you can come into a place, which is totally the gray area, of saying, well, this is who I am today, and I might not like that, but sitting in the suck and sitting in that uncomfortable space is what allows you to find grace and acceptance for yourself. And I would so much rather work in that space than maybe work toward an unrealistic idea, which is like, I have to love my body. I might not.
Because it seems so far removed from where we are right now.
Sure.
For many of us. So if you think, there's no way I'm going to just really embrace this and love it, at least if we can get to a point of feeling neutral about things that maybe we have this intense hatred for about ourselves now. I always try to look at it under the lens, or through the lens of, how would we look at this on someone else? and it might be like someone, how they feel about their nose or their thighs or their arms or whatever it is. If that's your friend or your mom or whoever, you're probably not picking it apart. You probably love every bit of them and you love that part of them. And so with ourselves, though, we tend to just like really hone in and really focus on these parts that we just really extremely dislike. So again, if finding that full body love just seems so far out there, at least get yourself to that dial kind of right in the middle.
Sure. I think a great way that you can help, access that sort of acceptance or that neutrality is like what you said. Maybe talk to yourself like you are the 7-year-old version of yourself is also helpful. And if a 7-year-old came home from school and said, I'm so stupid, I failed an exam. Well, one, they're not stupid because they failed the exam, but you're not going to say you're so smart and you really should have gotten an A and maybe something happened. Like you're not going to lie. And so also when it comes to maybe thinking about the nose that you don't like or the ears that you don't like or the way your hair is or the way your body looks, no one is asking you to for toxic positivity of, oh no, you're beautiful. If you feel ugly and that sucks. Like, and that is the uncomfortable part of sitting in the gray area is acknowledging what's there, and what's there is how you feel. And also acknowledging that it's temporary and it doesn't have to be that way. So if you are going to talk to yourself like you're the 7-year-old version of yourself, lean in with some compassion and with that sense of reality of where you are, because that is sometimes more comforting than that false sense of positivity.
I like the idea of talking to yourself like you're that 7-year-old version or like you're your best friend.
Absolutely. I love that.
Either of these, whoever you're going to talk to, that you are going to give that support and help be empathetic and compassionate versus so harsh. Okay. So we've covered a lot. So we've talked a lot about this, how to manage social, how to really help to use it to thrive. And social media is one tool. There's so much more. We could take everything we've talked about on social and extrapolate it to real life. And that would be hours more of a podcast. But to kind of sum up, look and see, who are you following? Where are you getting your education? Where are you getting the information that you're filling your brain space with? What are their credentials? Are they truly trained? Have they spent hours and hours and hours of training in their area of expertise, or are they non-experts who are simply claiming expertise? Maria talked about what some of these non-experts look like. So keep an eye out for the new fit girl, the cheerleader, the classic trainer bro. Multi-level marketing. Are you getting sold to? And are you being asked to bring in others who are going to also be sold to? The doctor, who may be a doctor of some sort, but unrelated type of doctor using those credentials for clout, and then, or just that made up credential. So what do these non-experts look like? Once you're starting to scroll through your social, you're going to be able to spot these, and you'll kind of hopefully have those caricatures in your head. Then the gray area, embracing that gray area, filtering your feed, filtering who you follow for your sanity, your clarity, your sense of peace, being body neutral. If you don't feel like body love is attainable, body neutral. So with all of that, we covered a lot. I love it. Who do we follow, and how do we find the right nutrition and wellness expert for ourselves?
That's a big question. And I think it depends. My favorite answer. So when it comes to nutrition, obviously I want to recommend a registered dietitian nutritionist, because I know that they've gone through hours of training and education, and they've earned a degree, and they have to keep up with that. Same with a CNS as well.
And CNS is?
It's a clinical nutrition specialist. So my thought is, why not lean on those people who have dedicated their lives to this profession and getting better at it? I will say, though, you need to find the right dietitian or nutritionist for you. And that might not, a lot of dietitians are online now. What is their niche? What are they working in? And you need to know that, because you might not have a great experience with one if they're not the right one for you.
It's like a hairdresser too, I mean, who might work for your friend or your mom isn't really going to be a good fit for you. And if you have one experience that you're like, that just wasn't really what I was hoping for, keep looking. So where can someone start to look online to find a registered dietitian who is a fit for them?
You can go to eatright.org, and the top right corner says find an expert. I will say that, I'm not listed on that. I'm not sure if you are, but if you are in a client facing role or client accepting role, you might not find all the dietitians on that website because that's part of a service if you're a member of the academy. So that's a great option if you're looking for maybe a health at every size or intuitive eating. There's a HAES or intuitive eating directory. There are also lots of Facebook groups that these professionals hold, doctors, trainers, exercise physiologists, and they all know each other. They're all connected. The social media is amazing that way. So if you know that there's, Maria, she's a dietitian in New Orleans, you can ask other dietitians and they might actually be more connected than you realize. There are plenty of ways that you can get connected with a doctor or health professional, even through your insurance company. Just calling and saying, I need someone who is a specialist in this or that. That's a lot easier than Googling.
In whatever area of expertise you're seeking out, it could be an acupuncturist. It could be an Ayurvedic practitioner. It could be an aromatherapy, a certified aromatherapy practitioner. Whatever specialty you're seeking out, make sure that that person you're trusting, what are their credentials? Ask them what their credentials are. There's a lot of weekend courses, a lot of very abbreviated versions that can get you credentials that sound similar. Or have they spent 3,000 hours in getting this credential? So looking in to see if, no matter if it's whatever type of wellness you're seeking out, what's their credentials?
Something I think that's important to talk about is that being classically educated comes with privilege. And so being able to afford access to even apply to a program. And it's hard for me to say, everyone you seek for wellness and health related activities or guidance should be credentialed in a classical way. I don't necessarily know if I want to say that, because there are, like you said, people who have 3,000, 4,000 hours of training under an expert in that field. And maybe what you're looking for, if it is acupuncture or if it is Ayurveda, maybe that type of training is something you're not familiar with. It's not taught in a classical education way. And it's okay for people to get different types of credentials, maybe just to facilitate their own understanding. It's when they are leaning on credentials that either are made up or not meant for you to be, in a client-facing role. That's when it gets a little bit messy and a little bit murky. But I think it is important to say that, Molly, that, even nutrition is primarily women and primarily white women. And I think there's a reason for that. There's a lot of barriers to some of these fields. So I can acknowledge that. And I also still think you deserve more than someone who has a side hustle job.
And that's really what it comes down to. And so as you're thinking of what are you surrounding yourself with, what's the information that you're filling your brain space with and filling your time with, is it someone who has really invested in their own education? They've really invested in furthering themselves? Or as Maria said, are you their side hustle?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this. We've covered a ton. I'm going to have links of where to find you, of course, through Eat Fit. I'm going to have links to your socials. So people, all the stuff that we're talking about, if they don't follow you already, they can. Anything else that we want to wrap up with?
Well, thank you for having me. And I think that I think it's cool to share this, Molly, that our philosophies on nutrition can look quite different on social media. And yet we can still come together and have a conversation and find that, we're kind of in the gray area, aren't we? Both of us. So consider, how some people are a little bit different in real life. And there's only so much you can put in an Instagram post or on a Facebook post. Getting to know the person behind that screen it's vital for your mental health and maybe even your physical health.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Maria.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So much fantastic information from Maria, so much insight. I'm really grateful to her for joining us. And with something that we can always strive to learn more, to educate ourselves, and really remembering to set those boundaries, not only in our personal life, but especially when it comes to social media. Include the links that she and I talked about in the show notes of this episode. And as you start to incorporate some of these strategies that Maria shared, please let us know about it. We want to hear. I am registered dietitian Molly Kimball, and you've been listening to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, the podcast. If you would like more Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, please head over to mollykimball.com And you can follow me, Molly Kimball RD, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And join us next week for another dose of fueled wellness and nutrition. Thanks for listening, and stay focused on living your strongest, healthiest life.